Right, 17 August 2020, and I'm joined by Mr. Jaison Midzi from the Zimbabwe People's Party. How are you, sir?
I'm very fine, Mr. Gambakwe. How are you?
I'm very well. So today we want to go straight into the topic. You saw that people who are very close to Idi Mnangagwa, like Shingi Munyeza, Trevor Ngube, they've put out statements in support of the Zimbabwe Catholic Bishops Conference letter, which criticized Idi Mnangagwa. What is your opinion on
that? Our opinion as Zimbabwe People's Party is that there is nothing wrong in criticizing a president, but we need to be objective. We also need to look at the country we are coming from. Zimbabwe is different from Tanzania. In 1972, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, he created a Tanzania which was free from tribalism. So Zimbabwe is a country which is at risk of tribal wars. It's like Nigeria, Kenya, Burundi, Rwanda, and South Africa. So when you are trading in such countries, you have to be very careful of what you say in public. You have to be more supportive than more incisive. So definitely, we believe the Catholic bishops are right in criticizing the president, but they should know the consequences of their critics, of their criticism, because it might lead to things to unretrievable consequences.
Okay, they made a key criticism, which is that Idi Mnangagwa is not listening. And I want to bring you back to the question that I asked you about people who are very close to Idi Mnangagwa, people who sit in his presidential advisory committee. They have to keep going out to criticize Mnangagwa in public. Don't you think there's a problem in the way Mnangagwa is conducting his consultations?
Every other African government has a problem. But the way we handle problems determines the future of the country. So definitely, those Shingi Munyezas, as you call them, they need to know the best way of approaching a person. Because if I look at you, Mr. Gambakwe, and I see that you are a defensive person, I have to design the method of approaching you. So if they don't have good methods of approaching Mnangagwa, they should ship out of those what we call them, whatever roles of being advisors.
Okay, what about Mnangagwa changing his own approach and putting in place platforms for people to talk? Has he put in place the right platform where citizens or leaders can approach him and talk to him?
When someone is voted into power, their responsibility is to offer services. So the issue of talking to a president, I think we are just wasting our time by focusing on some baseless narratives. When we trust somebody with our votes, what we need are results. And if there are no results, we catch up with them in the next election. We will remove them through the vote, nothing else. If we want to think we are part of his delivery strategy, then we will always be frustrated.
Okay, so are we saying people should not be looking to talk to Mnangagwa? Who then should they be trying to talk to?
People can talk to Mnangagwa if they have issues or whatever, but I think as citizens, our issue is to vote the best government that should lead us. If we vote somebody and we feel they are not the best, we catch up with them in the next election and vote them out. But our people think after voting, they are also part of governance. That's wrong and that's not correct. If you vote, you leave that person to govern. If the person has failed to govern, you vote them out in the next election. So when you want to be part of that governance, then it's something that is unheard of in this world.
So are you saying the bishops should not approach Mnangagwa given the current crisis in Zimbabwe?
Let me tell you, Mr. Gambakwe, the bishops should assess themselves and see whether the Catholic Church is a trusted church in Africa, not in Zimbabwe only. On record, Sister Juliana from the Catholic Church gave Hutu militias, the Interahamwe in Rwanda, to burn Tutsis in a Catholic church in Rwanda in 1994. So the record of the Catholic Church in Africa is not clean. So whatever they say, especially if it is inciting or even supporting, their record in Africa is not clean because they are part of the West, the second West, what should I say, the second West tribal conflict or mass murder of civilians in Rwanda. So the Catholic Church and their bishops, they should know their history in Africa, that it's not clean, and no politician and other normal civilians will feel scared when the Catholic starts to meddle in the politics of a country. Let me tell you something. The functions of the church, to people who go to church and who are serious about the church, will tell you there are 6 functions of the church. The first function is worship. The second function is spiritual discipline. The third is discipleship. The fourth is fellowship, service, and evangelism. Those are the functions of the church, and there is no politics in those 6 functions of the church. So the Catholic bishops should distance themselves from governance and politics of a country, because their record in Africa is marred by mass murder of civilians in Rwanda. So they can't be trusted by anyone, especially in a country like Zimbabwe, where we are grouped. We are a country which is on the verge of tribal conflict. We are grouped in the same group with Kenya, where the Luyas and the Kikuyus are ready to fight. Rwanda and Burundi, where the Hutus and Tutsis are ready to fight. Zimbabwe, where there's been 150 years of tribal conflict between Shonas and Ndebeles. And for Catholic bishops to come and talk in political matters when they have a history of having incited tribal violence in Rwanda, it's really not the best thing. They need to find ways of engaging the populace in a country which is at a verge of a difficult crisis like Zimbabwe. So I think
so if the Catholics cannot talk about politics, who then should talk about politics? Because the opposition has got nowhere to talk to Mnangagwa.
Politicians will talk about politics. The politicians are doing politics. We saw the G40 running the Zimbabwe Lives Matter, and they're doing very well. We saw Ngari Vume talking about the 31 July demonstrations, and he is doing his job as a politician. If the Catholic wants to be a political grouping, they can change and become a political grouping like what Mzorewa did. Let's be open with one another as Zimbabweans. A church is a church. It should end by doing church duties. A political party is a political party. If they want to be politicians, they should join politics full-blown, not to come behind the scene. Mind you, Zimbabwe was colonized by the Bible and the gun. And the Bible came with all these old Ago churches.
Okay, but
so no one can
is in
trust
jail.
Agent of, come again?
Ngari Vume is in jail.
Yeah, he's in jail. That's what politics entails. If you are in politics, you can be arrested or you can arrest.
No, I do not agree that a politician who talks should be arrested.
It depends on what you are talking about and where you are talking. You need to assess your country of operation and see what it demands. When I am in Zambia, I can talk what I want. Or when I'm in Botswana, I can talk what I want. But when I'm in Congo, I can talk today and tomorrow I'm dead, I'm assassinated. So we need those politicians who cannot assess their terrain. They will always complain. Know your terrain when you're a politician.
But that is the crisis, isn't it? Is that not the crisis?
It's not a crisis. When you know your terrain, you know how to behave in your terrain. You know how to maneuver in your terrain. It doesn't mean that ZANU-PF are difficult to remove from power. They are very easy. In ZPP, we've got a practical method of removing ZANU-PF without even a crisis.
Okay. How are you going to do it if there is no freedom to operate, to demonstrate?
Do demonstrations change governments? What does the Constitution of Zimbabwe say? It talks about elections. Where are the political parties in Uzumba today? Are they campaigning in Uzumba? Are they building structures in Uzumba? Then how do they want to win elections when they are not campaigning and building structures in Uzumba?
Okay,
is there
are you
any
building structures?
Is there, yes, we are building structures ourselves. Is there any political party which has told you, Mr. Gambakwe, or anywhere you have read that a political party was beaten 3 weeks ago for trying to build the structures in Uzumba or in Wedza or in whatever, in Mutoko? No, where are they? They only come and talk things that, let me tell you something, we've got narratives which we are spreading only to damage ourselves as Zimbabweans. The first narrative is that elections are stolen in Zimbabwe, when there is no political party which is evidence to substantiate and support that. When there is no political party which has had 100% polling agents in all elections in Zimbabwe. So how do you substantiate election theft? The next thing is ZANU-PF is an enemy. We are Zimbabwe People's Party. If you are ZANU-PF Gambakwe, you are not my enemy. You are just a Zimbabwean pursuing your own political ideology and agenda. Let's move away from this baboon-like politics of taking your own sister and your own brother and your own Zimbabwean like an enemy. The church should champion unity. The church should champion peace. The church should know that Zimbabwe is like Kenya and Rwanda. Anything can happen anytime. If we are spreading these hateful messages, we need to know how we trade in a country like Zimbabwe. In a country like Tanzania, you can talk what you want because that country is chasing one dream. That country, tribalism was neutralized, but in Zimbabwe, tribalism was not neutralized. And let's not put our country at risk. And that same Catholic put Rwanda at risk, and they should not put Zimbabwe at risk. We are a political party as ZPP. If the Catholic wants to be a political party, they should come and join the political arena and start to fan whatever information they want to fan.
Right. Mr. Midzi, I think it's been very, very clear. So let's summarize what you said. You said people who are close to Idi Mnangagwa, like Shingiminyeza and Trevor Ngube, who are not agreeable with his policies and who speak against him, should step away from those positions. That's the first thing that we said.
They should step away from those positions, and they should tell people that, please, vote Zimbabwe People's Party. We need listening leaders. But if they continue to just talk rubbish and incite the public in a country which is on the verge of fighting, we want to preserve life. We don't want people to fight. That's our ideology as ZPP. We want peace in a country, and peace brings prosperity. But when an advisor of a president cannot sit and talk to that president, or cannot resign from that advisorship position, and then goes to incite the public, we want peace in Zimbabwe. That's what ZPP is all about.
Okay, then we said the Catholic Church does not have the right to enter or to comment about Zimbabwean politics because they've got a bad track record in other countries. And if they want to talk about politics, they should become or form a political party.
That's very correct. Abel Muzoriwa formed a political party, and he can talk about politics. Let's distinguish between politicians and church people. So Zimbabweans, they want to do things through the back door. Us as the Zimbabwe People's Party, we are members of church as well, but we formed a political party so that we can face Mnangagwa head on. But you cannot face Mnangagwa through the back door. Form a political party and face him like what Abel Muzoriwa did.
Okay, and then we said Idim Mnangagwa won the elections and he doesn't need to govern with other people. If people want to govern, they must wait for 2023 and then they get their own chance to govern.
I have said MDC and ZANU-PF have been stealing votes, not elections. When I steal a vote, you give me a vote and I don't give you the service that I promised. So we have seen that Mnangagwa is not giving us the service that he promised. The next thing is we don't allow him to steal a vote. We simply vote Zimbabwe People's Party or another party which can deliver on their election promises. We have to be civilized. Let's not prove white people right. White people said we are baboons, and it's only baboons who fight every day. Let's be civilized. Let's start to engage positively with one another.
Okay, I get you. And now let's end with the last part. Everyone has been saying there's a crisis in Zimbabwe. Do you see a crisis in Zimbabwe?
There are effects of a crisis. If I go to Chimanimani today and I see wiped away bridges, it's an effect of Cyclone Idai. If I go to Zimbabwe today and I see a rise in prostitution and I see a civil strife and a lot of all these demonstrations and hunger plus lack of food, that's symptoms of the sanctions that Zimbabwe is on. We can continue to argue that Zimbabwe is not on sanctions and it's Tagwire who is on sanctions. Tagwire does not live in Zengeza. Tagwire does not live in Magwegwe. Tagwire does not live in Highfield. He lives in Borodale. He can never feel those sanctions. Those sanctions are for us. And we need to denounce them. We need to tell America to stop those sanctions so that our country can self-determine itself. So the more the Zimbabweans continue to think that sanctions don't exist, is the more we have situations like this where the bishops of the Catholic forget their job of worship, spiritual discipline, discipleship, fellowship, service and evangelism, and get into politics. But it's not bad for any Zimbabwean to get into politics. Muzorewa did it. Anyone can get it, but let's be clear here. If you want to do politics, get in full blown and start to trade in there. Let's not use the constitution, institutions like the Catholic, AFM, and other churches as vehicles of politics. That will not be the correct thing to do. Let's be first very clear with one another as Zimbabweans.
Okay, now I want us to end with the issue that has brought all this about. There are people who are on the run, Job Scala and other people. They were mentioned in this letter by the Catholic bishops. They were also mentioned by the South African envoys. How can Zimbabwean politics stop being so dangerous?
Zimbabwe is different from South Africa. Zimbabwe was gained through the loss of blood. And any time Zimbabwe can have loss of blood because it's in our DNA. Job Scala is not new to Zimbabwean politics. He got into Zimbabwean politics a long time ago. He knows the consequences of whatever he does. By now, Job Scala should know the best method of engaging ZANU-PF without bloodshed, without an arrest. But if he cannot learn for the past 20 years, then honestly, there is something wrong with him. If you cannot learn, Mr. Gambakwe, that when you are trading in Zimbabwe, things can be bad if you go the other way. There are many ways you can engage a lion and it starts to be your friend. So let's be very clear with one another. Job Scala is not a student to Zimbabwean politics. He is very well experienced. He knows what he is doing. And for him to start to create dramas today, it's just something that is unwarranted. He should have designed a method of engaging ZANU-PF without staying in the bush by now.
Okay, so I think it's very, very clear what you said, and I'm hearing the argument, although I don't agree with certain parts of it. So let us conclude. What should happen now to solve
what should happen is
yes,
people should join a party that is clear with its facts. Zimbabwe People's Party does not cheat people to join. We tell Zimbabweans the truth. We told Zimbabweans that the 31 July was a non-event, and it was a non-event. We told the Zimbabweans that Zimbabwe Lives Matter is a non-event, and it's a non-event, you can see it. We told the Zimbabweans that compensating white farmers is nothing, is useless, and you can see the same white farmers are saying they don't want to, they signed under pressure. So we in ZPP are very honest and clear with our facts, and we want Zimbabweans to come out of this political confusion and start to approach our politics and our lives with honestness and the truth.
Okay, what about people who don't want to join Zimbabwe People's Party? They want to stay in MDC or in ZANU-PF. What do they do?
They can stay in MDC or in ZANU-PF, but they should fight for the truth and the correct, you know, what we call transparency and accountability. When you have leaders who cannot communicate with you, when you have leaders who go on leave when there is COVID and when there is July 31, like what Chamisa did, that's rubbish. It doesn't happen in developed world like Canada, America, Australia, and New Zealand. If anyone goes on leave, even a member of the opposition, when a country is facing a crisis, they will lose their job there and there. Why then do we keep those people in positions when they go on leave during a crisis? When there is no communication during a crisis, why do we keep Mnangagwa there? It's us, the voters, who remove Mnangagwa with our votes in 2023. If we want the war, I'm telling you, Zimbabweans should know this. Zimbabwe will go to the Syria to be like Syria. Everything will be raised to the ground. Because ZANU-PF are ready for that war that you are talking about.
Right. What should Mnangagwa do differently?
Mnangagwa he can never change who he is. He can continue running his show because he was given the mandate by the voters in 2023. In 2018, 2023, they needed to remove him and put another leader through the vote. That's what civilization entails. But if you want to behave like baboons, we may think we can always change the government anyhow through fights and running around the streets. And it will be the Rwanda way, let me tell you.
Right, Mr. Jaison Midzi from the Zimbabwe People's Party. I'm hearing you clearly, and I hope that other people who are watching will be able to give you feedback. I've put your number on the screen. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
What I want to tell people is that people should join the Zimbabwe People's Party. We are a party which has correct strategy. We want people, Zimbabweans, to think about peace. all peaceful countries prosper. All peaceful countries are prosperous. Countries which think which are in shambles and which are where we have all this confusion and fighting, they will never prosper. Let's be peaceful. Let's chase one dream. Let's join a party which talks about peace, which is Zimbabwe People's Party. Let's join the party which speaks about the truth. Let me tell you, there is no other political party which will tell you that the Catholic bishops have not thought well because they want to gain votes. We don't trick anybody to get votes. We simply give the truth as it is. Come another day, you will see that the ZPP were correct.
Right, Mr. Midzi, thank you very much. It's been very interesting talking to you this week again. We'll talk again next week as we continue our weekly discussions. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gambakwe. We love Zimbabwe and God bless Zimbabwe.